In the history of humanity, there are mysterious stories that leave us pondering deeply. One such story belongs to Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, renowned not only for his leadership during the Civil War and his efforts to abolish slavery. Lincoln is also remembered for a strange dream that seemed to predict his own death. A few days before his assassination, Lincoln recounted a haunting dream. He saw himself walking into the White House, shrouded in an eerie silence. As he approached a room, he found a coffin draped in the national flag, surrounded by guards and mourners. A voice in the crowd said, "The president has been assassinated." Lincoln woke up feeling uneasy and shared this dream with his wife and friends, almost as if he had foreseen his fate. Then on the evening of April 14, 1865, just as in his dream, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated at Ford's Theater. The story of Lincoln is not just a mysterious prophecy, but also raises questions. Can people sense warnings of what is to come? Or was this merely a coincidence? What do you think? Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is one of the most remarkable and influential figures in American history. He is renowned not only for his exceptional leadership, but also for his tremendous contributions in guiding the nation through the bloody Civil War and ending slavery, a major blemish on human history. Lincoln is remembered as a steadfast, intelligent leader with a profound vision of freedom and justice. Under his leadership, the United States not only maintained its unity but also began paving the way toward building a more equitable society. Yet behind his strong exterior, Abraham Lincoln had a complex inner world, constantly pondering the fate of the nation and his own. An intriguing and lesser-known fact about Lincoln is that he had a remarkably strong intuition. Those close to him recounted that Lincoln often had peculiar dreams, many of which seemed to carry prophetic meanings. Lincoln didn't view these dreams as mere coincidences. He sometimes used them to make decisions or prepare himself mentally for what might lie ahead. During the Civil War, Lincoln reportedly dreamed of major Union victories before they actually occurred. This led him to believe that dreams were not just a part of the subconscious, but also a way to connect with something larger, beyond ordinary human understanding. Just days before his assassination, Lincoln had a particularly vivid dream, one that is now remembered as foreshadowing his own death. In the dream, Lincoln found himself walking into the White House, enveloped in an eerie silence. As he approached a room, he saw a coffin draped with the American flag, surrounded by guards and the mournful cries of onlookers. A voice in the crowd declared, "The president has been assassinated." Lincoln woke up feeling deeply uneasy, and the sense of foreboding lingered. He shared this dream with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and his close associates. Despite this, he continued his duties with the utmost sense of responsibility, as if he was prepared for whatever might come. The story of Abraham Lincoln's dreams is not just a historical anecdote, but a profound tale that makes us reflect on the connection between the spiritual and the tangible. Did Lincoln truly foresee his fate, or was this merely a series of mysterious coincidences? His dreams seemed to transcend the boundaries of his own life, becoming an integral part of American history and leaving generations in awe. A few days before America witnessed the shocking assassination of its brilliant president, Abraham Lincoln experienced a mysterious dream. This dream not only left him deeply unsettled, but also became one of the most famous mystical stories in history. In the dream, Abraham Lincoln found himself walking into the White House, but the atmosphere was entirely different. Everything was engulfed in an eerie silence. No sounds, no movement, nothing. As he approached a room, he saw a coffin draped with the American flag. Surrounding it were soldiers standing guard with somber expressions, accompanied by the mournful cries of the crowd. Then, a mysterious voice echoed, "The president has been assassinated." The final days of Abraham Lincoln's life were marked by an atmosphere of tension and uncertainty. The Civil War had just ended, leaving the United States grappling with the immense task of rebuilding and healing a divided nation. Yet, deep within, Lincoln seemed to sense that something unusual was on the horizon. Despite the outward celebration of victory, Lincoln carried a somber demeanor. Those closest to him noted his introspective nature during this time. He spoke less about the triumphs of war and more about the challenges of uniting the country. But beyond these concerns, there was a deeper, unspoken unease, as if Lincoln was preparing himself for an inevitable fate. It was during these final days that Lincoln began sharing peculiar dreams and feelings of foreboding with his wife and close friends. One particular dream stood out, a haunting vision that many believe foreshadowed his tragic end. As the weight of leadership bore down on him, it seemed Lincoln was quietly bracing for what. One evening, after a long day of work, Abraham Lincoln drifted into a deep sleep. In his dream, he found himself walking through the White House, but it was unlike anything he had ever known. The atmosphere was eerily silent, no voices, no footsteps, just an overwhelming stillness. Every corner of the White House was engulfed in a strange and unsettling quiet, leaving him with an inexplicable sense of unease. As he approached a particular room, Lincoln was met with a haunting sight, a coffin draped with the American flag. Around it stood soldiers on guard, their faces heavy with sorrow. The air was filled with the faint sound of mournful cries from a distant crowd. And then, cutting through the silence, a voice declared, "The president has been assassinated." The vividness of the dream left Lincoln deeply shaken, as if it were a harbinger of something. Lincoln woke up with an overwhelming sense of unease. The dream lingered in his mind, haunting him throughout the following day. Its vivid details and ominous message were impossible to ignore. Feeling compelled to share what he had seen, Lincoln spoke of the dream to his close friend and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. As he recounted the haunting vision, Lincoln uttered words that sent chills through those who heard them. "I don't think I will live much longer." Mary Todd Lincoln, who was deeply spiritual and strongly believed in omens, was greatly troubled by her husband's account. She urged him to be cautious and to avoid public gatherings or crowded places. Her voice trembled with concern as she implored him to take extra precautions. But Lincoln, with his characteristic calm and sense of duty, seemed almost resigned to his fate. Despite his wife's fears, he continued his work with unwavering determination, as though he had already accepted whatever destiny awaited him. Mary, meanwhile, remained in quiet worry, sensing that the weight of the dream was more than just a passing thought. The haunting premonition hung over their lives, a shadow of what was. It wasn't just the strange dream that haunted Abraham Lincoln in his final days. His life during this period was filled with events that many would later interpret as ominous signs. Lincoln himself seemed to possess a profound intuition about his own death. Friends and family often recounted moments when his words and actions reflected an almost eerie awareness of his fate. He spoke less about the future and more about what he had accomplished, as though preparing to leave his legacy behind. In conversations with those closest to him, Lincoln often shared thoughts that carried a sense of finality. On one occasion, he mentioned, "There are times when I feel as if I'm living on borrowed time." Such remarks left his friends uneasy, though Lincoln himself appeared calm, even resolute. His demeanor also changed subtly in those days. He became more introspective, spending long moments in quiet reflection. People close to him described his tone as somber, his words deliberate, as if every sentence carried the weight of an unspoken farewell. Though he continued his duties with diligence, it was clear to those around him that Lincoln was deeply aware of an inevitable outcome, one that seemed to loom just beyond the horizon. These moments, along with his haunting dream, painted a picture of a man who, in some inexplicable way, knew that his time was coming to an end. To this day, these accounts remain a source of mystery, raising questions about fate, intuition, and the thin line between premonition and reality. On the evening of April 14, 1865, Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, arrived at Ford's Theater to watch the play Our American Cousin. It was a night meant to be a rare moment of relaxation for the president after years of war and political turmoil. The Civil War had recently ended, and the nation was on the brink of reconstruction. But for Lincoln, it would tragically be his final public appearance. As the president entered the theater, he was greeted with applause and cheers from the audience. He smiled warmly, acknowledging the crowd, and then took his seat in the presidential box alongside his wife and their guests. The mood in the theater was lively, and the play's comedic tone filled the room with laughter. For a moment, it seemed as though Lincoln could finally enjoy some peace after the long and harrowing years of war. Unbeknownst to him, lurking in the shadows was John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and staunch opponent of Lincoln's policies. Booth, embittered by the outcome of the Civil War and Lincoln's push to abolish slavery, had meticulously planned the assassination. He saw Lincoln as a tyrant and believed that by killing him, he could reignite the Confederate cause. As the play progressed, Booth stealthily made his way to the presidential box. Armed with a .44 caliber Derringer pistol, he waited for the perfect moment. That moment came during a comedic line in the play that drew loud laughter from the audience, masking the sound of what was about to happen. Booth entered the box, aimed his pistol at the back of Lincoln's head, and fired. The sound of the gunshot silenced the theater in an instant. Chaos erupted as Mary Todd Lincoln screamed in horror, and the audience struggled to comprehend what had just occurred. Booth leapt from the presidential box onto the stage, breaking his leg in the process. But he managed to shout the Latin phrase, "Sic semper tyrannis," thus always to tyrants, before fleeing the scene. Lincoln was immediately attended to by doctors, but the wound was fatal. He was carried across the street to a nearby boarding house, where he lay unconscious throughout the night. At 7:22 a.m. on April 15, 1865, Abraham Lincoln passed away, becoming the first U.S. president to be assassinated. The events of that evening mirrored Lincoln's haunting dream in an uncanny way. Just as he had seen in his vision, the president was struck down, and the nation was plunged into mourning. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln not only marked the loss of one of America's greatest leaders, but also cemented his story as one of prophecy. The story of Abraham Lincoln's dream is not just a strange prophecy, but also a profound mystery that invites us to reflect on the connection between the spiritual and the tangible. Was it merely a coincidence, or did Lincoln truly catch a glimpse of his destiny? In the days leading up to his assassination, Lincoln's dream was more than just a haunting vision. It seemed to foreshadow the inevitable. The vivid imagery, the eerie silence, the draped coffin, and the words, "The president has been assassinated," were far too specific to ignore. For many, this raises questions about whether dreams can act as premonitions, revealing truths that our conscious minds cannot comprehend. Skeptics may argue that the dream was a manifestation of Lincoln's anxieties as he navigated a nation recovering from a brutal civil war. Perhaps his subconscious processed the weight of his responsibilities and fears, crafting a scenario that tragically aligned with reality. But others believe it was something more, a spiritual warning, a glimpse into the threads of fate woven beyond human understanding. Lincoln himself seemed to sense that his time was limited. His words and demeanor in his final days reflected a man who, in some inexplicable way, had accepted what was to come. This calm acceptance, paired with the vivid dream, continues to captivate historians, psychologists, and spiritualists alike. Even today, the story of Lincoln's dream leaves us with a haunting question. Are there moments when the veil between the seen and unseen is lifted, allowing us to perceive what lies ahead? Or was this simply a chilling twist of fate written into the pages of history? Whatever the answer, Lincoln's dream remains one of the most enduring mysteries surrounding one of America's greatest leaders. The story of Abraham Lincoln's dream serves as a powerful reminder that there are mysteries in life that science has yet to explain. It is a tale that blurs the line between reality and the unknown, leaving us to ponder whether the human mind can truly sense what lies ahead. Lincoln's dream was not just a coincidence. It was a vivid and detailed vision that seemed to foretell the tragic events of his assassination. The silence in the White House, the draped coffin, the somber guards, and the chilling declaration, "The president has been assassinated," all came together in a way that defies logical explanation. Was it intuition, a spiritual message, or simply the workings of a mind weighed down by the burden of leadership? Throughout history, there have been countless accounts of prophetic dreams and unexplained premonitions. For some, these moments are dismissed as the subconscious mind processing fears and emotions. But for others, they are seen as a bridge, a connection between the physical and the spiritual realms, offering glimpses of what may come. Lincoln himself seemed to accept the possibility that his dream was more than just a product of imagination. He shared it with those close to him, almost as if preparing them for what he sensed was inevitable. This calm resignation, paired with the haunting details of his vision, has sparked discussions for generations about the nature of dreams, destiny, and intuition. So what do you believe? Are dreams like Lincoln's simply reflections of our deepest fears and thoughts? Or are they a mysterious tool that helps us prepare for the future? The story of Abraham. Lincoln's dream challenges us to consider the possibilities and reminds us that life is full of wonders yet to be